today is I'm going to take you through some of the setups with the Mevo Plus, some of our applications, FS Golf, FS Skills, but mostly answer some of your questions that you guys have sent in. If you have any questions that you do want to ask, please make sure you ask them in the Ask a Question section down below. So we'll go ahead and get started. My colleague Tyler is going to be asking me the questions. I'm going to hit some shots, and we'll take it from there. So first thing you'll see is you're going to see our setup here indoors. We have the Mevo Plus at approximately 8 feet behind the ball, and then we have about 14 feet of ball flight. So we are in an indoor mode. There is the option to have a short indoor mode, and that's for the shorter footprint. So for example, if you're in a garage or somewhere where you don't have that, maybe over 20 feet of total distance, you can have 8 feet of ball flight and then 8 feet from sensor to tee. And then you obviously have the outdoor mode, which you're going to use on the range. Tilt and roll. Something very important on tilt is that if you are in FS Golf or FS Skills, you should have the tilt anywhere between 16 to 18 degrees. If you're in E6, you're going to want that tilt to be down to 12, and you would use your simulator angle tool that comes with your Mevo Plus. We'll go into radar setup.
Just say hold on.
Give us 1 second. I'm going to try to get this displayed for you. Can you guys see my screen? If you can give us some thumbs up. I'm going to go ahead and start a session here. I hit a few shots. So I'll get a few shots up on the screen, and then we'll start taking some questions and go from there. We always like to do 3 just so that we have a grouping. And last one. Let's get something to move my left to right here. A little heavy. There she is. All right. You ready? You want to go with questions? You want to go with the app?
Let's go into questions.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go into questions. If there's anything that I can show you on the applications from the question, we'll go ahead and do that. So Tyler, go ahead.
Okay, the first question we have here is, when will the software be available for PC?
Okay, so we are currently working on FS Golf for PC. We should have some beta versions for us to test here internally in the next few months, but we're going to be looking at a release of probably the end of Q4. So around the December timeframe will probably be a good time frame for that.
Okay, another question we have here is, can there be a recommended presets for data margins in terms of the smash factors for various clubs and also the spread? Or for example, what is a good degree of spread instead of just lateral distance?
Yes, that's something that we could probably work on. The only difficulty with that is that every club is different. Every manufacturer has a different standard on loft. And nowadays clubs are made with a little bit less loft, they're a little stronger. So for example, you might be hitting a 7-iron that spins 5,000 because it is lower loft than what we would call your standard 7-iron. So because there is some various ranges between manufacturers as well as what you the golfer might be using with your clubs, it's kind of difficult for us to bracket that. However, I'll talk to the engineers and developers and see if there's something that we could make as far as a recommendation. Next question.
Next question is, when will the AR augmented reality feature be released?
We are still working on it. I know some of you have seen us preview it here. You've probably seen it online. It still is in beta. There is still some things that we require from Apple that Apple is still developing. So we'll continue the beta process. We're still working on it very diligently. And as soon as we have something ready, hopefully, probably around the time of PC release, maybe a little sooner, we should have that ready to go. Next question.
Okay, next question is shot type. Am I correct that the shot type is calculated based on the direction and side spin, for example, and therefore is important to aim exactly along the target line?
So the shot type isn't really, it's not calculated. So yes, it is important that the unit is aligned to your intended target line. However, shot type is determined by the trajectory that the ball actually takes. So yes, there are some things that we look into to determine that, a spin axis and things of that sort. But shot type is just exactly what the ball flight did. So in this example here, this would be considered a fade or a cut because of the trajectory that has taken on the application. So it is 100% important that you align it to your intended target line so you get the correct image on your trajectories, and then your shot type will be displayed dependent on that.
Okay, yeah, we definitely have a lot more questions, so we'll keep going through these questions. But if everyone can just give a thumbs up in the chat section there, if you can hear Alex okay. Just want to make sure everyone's hearing all these answers and everything. Okay, next question we have is, what is the importance of Mevo Plus being the same height as the hitting surface?
Okay, so the one thing that you never want to do is you never want the unit to be above the ball or the hitting area. If the unit is going to be below the ball or the hitting surface, then we do have a way to account for that in the settings, and that's called your T surface height. And you can have up to 6 inches of variance, 3 to 6 inches of variance. In the perfect scenario, you would want the ground level to be the same from unit to ball as we have in our studio here. You also don't want to have, for example, the ball on a mat, for example, and then the radar and a mat, and you have a valley between those distances, because that can create interference or multipath. So either same level or the ball slightly raised above the unit's ground level. Okay, and just
Sort of building off of that, how does the T height setting affect the spin number?
So the T height setting doesn't really have it doesn't really do anything to spin. The T height setting is just so that the radar knows how far up the ball or impact is going to happen relative to the horizon of the unit or where the unit is located. So that's why T surface height is important, but it doesn't really have anything to do with spin.
Okay, just seeing a few questions here from people about the tilt angle. So maybe just explain the tilt angles and differences between FS Golf and Skills and E6.
I'm going to grab this tool here quickly. Yes, so as you can see, I'm not sure if the viewers can see this, but if I click on the ready icon in the application, it's going to take me into this radar status. And in the radar status, it gives me roll and tilt. So as long as your tilt in FS Golf or FS Skill is green, you're good to go. And that range is going to be anywhere between 16 to 18 degrees. When you go into E6 or any of the simulator softwares, then you would use this simulator angle tool, which will put the radar at 12 degrees. And it actually says it on the little tool here. So At 12 degrees, that's where your E6 would be, so that you could do chipping, putting, as well as full swing. And again, the app will indicate to you the status. Next question. Get a little better shot of it.
Okay, next question is, how can I export the data for a session from my Mevo Plus?
So at the moment, there is no exporting of data. The data does go to myflightscope.com, to your account on myflightscope.com, and that's where it can be viewed. We don't have any data exportation at the current moment. It might be something that we might do in the future, but at the moment, it's just exported into myflightscope.com, and then it could be reviewed on the web. Now, you guys probably see me every time I hit a ball. I kind of get down to the ball and I'm adjusting it. And so what I'm doing there is in an indoor mode, I want to make sure that my dot is facing the target so that I can get the best spin numbers possible in an indoor environment. Outdoors, you don't need that, but indoors it is important. Next question.
Okay, something I'm seeing over and over here now in the questions is the ability for Mevo Plus in the future to see path, face, and swing planes.
Yeah, I don't think that that's something that this particular product will have the capability of doing. One, it's just because of the size of the radar. We are packing a lot of firepower in this little package. So it's probably not something that we're going to see in Mevo Plus. In the future we might develop something else along those lines, but not for Mevo Plus. There's no plans at the moment for that. Next question.
Okay, just on the on E6 and putting, maybe just talk a little about the recent firmware update and how that's improved the putting on 0.18.
Yeah, so the developers have done, engineers and developers have done a lot of work on improving putting, chipping, and some of the feedback that you guys have given us on these webinars. And so you should just see, just cleaner interaction with the software. Putting should work a lot better. Chipping should work a lot better. They did do some changes so that we can basically eliminate some things from the environment. As you guys know, every environment is different. Our environment here might be different than your garage or your studio or your simulator bay at home. So we do have to take into account a lot of different environments and different scenarios. So as time goes on, we're able to see all those different scenarios and environments and make adjustments for that. So you should see great improvement on chipping, putting with simulation.
Okay, next question is, how accurate is the range ball setting, and how do I get the most accurate results for standard balls?
Yeah, so what the range ball setting does is it basically inputs a percentage change, 10 to 15% change on what the ball is actually doing. So range balls, there's a whole slew of different variances of range balls. You have limited flight balls, you have floaters, you have balls that have been hit 2,000 times. So it's very hard to make changes on all of those different types, but we have a good understanding of what happens with a range ball. So when you select range ball setting, what we're doing is we're making an adjustment, a 10 to 15% adjustment on things such as like ball speed, for example, because a range ball is not going to have the same amount of ball speed that your normal premium golf ball would have. Compression ratios are different, the quality of the ball is different, so that's what we do. If you're outdoors and you're hitting a standard ball, then you would just select standard ball. If you're on the range, you can obviously select range ball, and then that compensation would be made. Indoors, you can use your premium golf balls, and then again, no compensation is made there. So range ball setting, again, is just a compensation to some of the parameters to give you a more realistic, realistic data based on the conditions of that golf
Okay, next question is, how exact should aligning the FlightScope be? What are the effects of alignment being off?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, because this unit does your horizontal angles, such as, for example, your ball flight, let's say, for example, that the radar is aimed at 2 o'clock, but I'm hitting in the 12 o'clock direction. The only reference point that the radar has is that 2 o'clock reference point. So even though I'm hitting to 12 o'clock, and for me it should be a straight ball or a little cut, the radar is skewed, so it's going to show on your trajectories, it's going to show different because of how it's tracking. So it is very important that you align it to your intended target line so you get, the best visuals possible. What you can do indoors, it's one of the easiest ways, is when you turn on your alignment screen, just put your ball where you would be hitting from, and then at the screen, you could put another golf ball or you could put something on the ground just to identify your intended target line, so that when you align your camera, you can see, you can go through the ball in the hitting area and then through your intended target line on the screen. And then outdoors, you would just go through the ball and then through the intended target line out on the range.
Okay, next question. Is it possible to connect the Mevo Plus to my phone using Bluetooth so I can utilize Wi-Fi when using the E6 app?
Yes. So it is not possible to connect via Bluetooth. The FlightScope Mevo Plus is a Wi-Fi connection. The reason for the Wi-Fi connection is because of the data transfers that we do. Also, you are taking video with your phone, so we just wanted to make that connection a lot smoother. Bluetooth connections can have drops. You can't really transmit that much information through it, especially when you start talking about video, so that's why these units are Wi-Fi units.
Okay, when trying to align the unit outside using a smartphone, the picture is too small to see the aim point at the horizon. Can this be zoomed in?
Yes, you can actually pinch on the screen, pinch in and out, and you can adjust the image or the view that you see on the screen for alignment. Again, it is a small unit, it is a small camera, so it's not going to be 4K resolution or anything like that, but you can pinch in and out to adjust what you can see on the screen.
Okay, next question is, why does smash factor sometimes register at 1.5 in FS Skills but never in the FS Golf app?
I haven't seen that. The one thing that could make a difference is if you're hitting different golf balls between one or the other. But if everything is constant, just make sure that you don't have range ball setting on one or the other, because that can affect what is being registered. But other than that, I haven't seen that. If you do continue to see it, maybe just reach out to the support team and they can have a deeper dive into what might be going on there.
Okay, where is the club head speed measured? Pre-impact or post-impact?
So club head speed, so we see the club and the ball separately, and we measure at what we call touch, or right before there's any energy transfer from the club to the ball. So let's call it the frame prior to the club actually hitting the golf ball. The reason why we do it there is because we believe the moment that you touch the ball or you hit the ball, you are transferring energy from the club to the ball, and therefore you're changing the speed and direction of the club head. So we want as clean of a measurement as possible, so we do it right before impact. Next question.
Okay. Next question is, if the ball is scuffed from the golf net, does it impact the reading?
It could potentially impact your spin rate for sure. The one thing that we see is that, especially indoors, when you're hitting these balls constantly, there's a few things that happen. One, there's a lot of friction created on the mats. The ball hits the net, it actually creates friction and heat. And we've actually tried it here. We've hit a ball, several times, and you actually grab it and touch it, and it's warm to the touch because of the friction, obviously, on the face, and then it's hitting the net at a very high speed. So the balls indoors tend to get damaged a lot quicker. They'll start to crack. So it is important that you're looking out for that. A little scuff isn't going to make a huge difference, but yes, 100%, if they're scuffed or if they're cracked or anything like that, it will affect ball speed and spin rate.
Okay, I'm seeing a few questions repeated here about the recording. Yes, this webinar is recorded, and we will email it to everyone after the recording. Okay, next question is, how is the weather/wind correction really working?
So what we do is and this is one of the other reasons why, we did these applications so that you can use it with your iPads or your phones, is so that you still maintain a cellular network connection. So what the application does is it connects to the unit via Wi-Fi, and then the cellular data, for example, on your phone is still connected. So the application asks the local weather station through an API. It pulls the weather information every 5 minutes. And so it's constantly updated. So that's how we know, we know where the unit is pointed, because through your setup you have to tell the software kind of where you're located and what direction you're hitting. So we know where the wind is coming from that weather information. And we know the temperature, the wind speed, so on and so forth. So that's how that weather is used to give you the most accurate data. Remember, the Mevo family of products is not a full tracking radar like our X3. Our X3 is a full tracking radar, which can see the ball from launch to land. But obviously it's a bigger radar, it has more technology in it, it's more expensive. These radars, the Mevo product line, is a limited flight radar. So we see a portion of the trajectory, and then we run our ballistic models that we've done for many, many years. And then to enhance that, we use the weather to give you the most precise and most accurate data on your carry and things of that sort. So that's how the weather is used. You are more than welcome to turn that off. You can turn weather information off, and so that won't be taken into account.
Okay, next question. Any chance of a bag mapping feature like SkyTrack does? Also, adding an adjustable green to FlightScope Golf would be a great feature.
I'm not sure what they mean by bag mapping. I don't know if they can maybe give us some more information on that. I'm not sure what you mean by bag mapping. We do have groupings, and yeah, so I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. But maybe you could give us a little bit better, just some more information on that. I'll be happy to answer that. And what was the second part of the question?
It was just a comment.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Will there be any possibility for Android devices to play a golf course like E6 for iOS?
Yeah, so currently E6 only has iOS platforms. This request does come to them a lot. We don't have any word on whether or not they will come out with an Android application. I think it is in their future plans because there is a lot of requests for it. But as we stand today, there is nothing that we know of.
Okay, next question. Is there a possibility to see what the Mevo sees? In other words, is it possible to see where the Mevo detected some noise?
Yes, there is something that we have to see that, where we basically take environmental samples. That's not something that we publish to the public. That is proprietary tools and information. However, if you feel that there is some noise in your environment that could be causing some accuracy issues with your radar or performance issues, please give our support team a call, and they'll gladly go in. They can run some tests, and they can tell you if there is a source of noise. I've actually done this on customer visits where I've gone to a customer's location, I've been by, or they've said, hey, I think I got some noise issues, and then I gladly run an environmental sample through that. The applications actually can run environmental samples, but those results aren't available to the public. That's something that our engineers receive, and then they let us know, what steps to follow from there.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to view average distances of a group of shots? For example, I hit 10 6-irons. Can I find the average carry and rollout?
Yeah, so if you go into your table screen, once you've hit, let's say you've hit a few shots, you go into your table screen, and down at the bottom here, it gives you an average and a deviance for every data parameter that we provide. So for me right now, it's saying that my carry distance on average is 161 yards with a deviance of 12 yards. So obviously I hit one that wasn't very good there. Club head speed, average club head speed is 87 with a deviance of 0.7 miles an hour. So all of that is on your bottom bar for each particular club that you select.
Okay, next question is, do you have any advice for making sure it disconnects less? My PC is very near to the Mevo Plus, so I don't think it's the Wi-Fi signal interference.
Yeah, so one thing that does happen with these devices is we actually see this on both, not just the Mevo Plus, but on all the product lines, is that devices nowadays, such as your iPhone, your iPad, your PC, they're always looking for an internet connection. So we don't establish an internet connection, we establish a Wi-Fi connection. And so what happens is that the device itself tries to find internet, and so it creates this loop where you could have connection drops. Because your phone, for example, is connected to cellular data, then sometimes you also get you just get the miscommunications there, but it's really something more along the lines of the actual device that is causing the miscommunication issues, and not really the FlightScope product itself. We are looking for ways to make that communication better so it doesn't drop out, but that's really the reason why. I know with PCs it happens a lot, is they are looking for an internet connection, and so they basically drop the Wi-Fi connection to try to find an internet connection.
Okay, next question is, when will the Mevo Plus read super speed sticks? Sorry.
That's a great question. We have done some work. We've already sent some samples over to the engineers. I will follow up with Henry and our engineers on where we stand there. But I do know that we have already captured some samples, and they're looking to add that feature into the Mevo Plus application. So definitely something that will be in the future will be coming out.
Okay, next question is, can you remove a shank from the data to get more accurate readings?
As far as your averages, yes. You can, so if you go back to the screen, I hit a few before we started the session when I was warming up. Yeah, so if you go, I'm sorry, it's probably go to more. I gotta find it because I was thinking of VX, and you can go to remove. Are you sure you want to delete this shot? You say delete, and then that shot is gone out of your averages. Maybe something for future is we can have that delete button a little bit more visible, but yeah, that's how you would do it through there.
Okay. Question is, how do I upload the stats from the FS Golf to the website? Some of my stats are uploaded, but some are not.
Okay, so that if you're using a device that doesn't have cellular data, then what you need to do is after your session is you need to connect the device to the internet, and then open the application. The application will push everything up to the cloud. If for whatever reason that isn't happening, give us a call, reach out to our support team, and they can help walk you through the process. But that's, if you have cellular data, it happens automatic because there's always a connection to internet. If you don't, then that's where you can be having the hiccup. And I hit that shot, of course.
Okay, next question is, can you consider the horizontal launch value as a measure of the face path, considering that the radar is lined up along the line of the shot and the spin axis as an idea of whether the face is open or closed relative to the path?
I mean, it's close, but I don't want to say that that is your true face angle value because of ball speed. So, you know, if we were hitting a putter, then the horizontal launch is probably very close to where the face is pointed. But once you start getting up in ball speed, there is a separation between where the ball starts relative to the face and the path. So, for example, on a driver, your face, the start line of the ball is about 85% closer to the face angle versus the club path, and on an iron shot, it's about 75%. So you can maybe work out the math, but again, it's not a true estimation of where the face is. It's pretty close, but once you get up in ball speeds, I mean, I guess you could work out the percentage, 25% for an iron, 15% for a driver. But again, that isn't a true number because there are other things that go into what happens with the ball, the face, and the launch. So, get you closer. I mean, pretty close. And that is 100% indicative of hitting it on the center of the face. If you hit it outside the center of the face, no chance.
Okay, next question. E6 has a ball offset feature relevant to the screen, for example, 6 inches to the right. Does this affect the tracking because I see that the FS Golf app does not have this option?
So the feature that they're talking about is adjusting the screen or adjusting the impact location or kind of where we're hitting on versus the target line.
I believe it's the screen.
Yeah, so that's to make an adjustment for projector versus where they're hitting. Yeah, that's just something that happens between the simulator software. So that, for example, if I hit a ball right on this target line, the simulator is lined up and it shows it right on the target line. Whereas if that isn't adjusted correctly, it might start a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. We don't currently have that in our software. I know that the developers have talked about it, but that's something that for now would probably just be for simulation. This one's pretty good. I mean, I'm hitting it right on the target line. But I do have the Mevo pretty centered to the projector. That's actually an easy way to do it, is just put your Mevo target line as close to the center line of the projector lens, which is what I have here, and it's pretty close to the center line of the unit. Now, one thing you will notice is if I hit a ball from over here, let me go this way, I don't want to hit this close behind me. If I put a ball kind of over to the right, away from the target line, so you see how it actually shifts it on the screen? So that's actually a good indication that shows you that you've hit it away from the intended target line of the unit. If I go back to where I had it set up, and I hit a shot, it's going to be closer to the target line on the screen. And there it goes. So you can actually see it move. So that's actually a pretty cool feature.
Okay, next question is, what is the best lighting recommendation in a garage?
LED, 100%. Fluorescent lighting does affect the radar. Matter of fact, here in our studio, we do have a lot of fluorescent lighting. It's a little bit higher. It's off right now because we're doing this webinar. But sometimes when we're testing in here, we do have to turn the lights off if we're looking at, for example, spin or anything like that, because fluorescent lighting does affect the radar. It creates noise in the environment. So there is some ways where you can mask your fluorescent lighting using insect mesh and things like that. But if you have questions on that, reach out to our support team and they can kind of guide you on how to mask the noise from the fluorescent lighting. LED is 100% the best way to go.
Okay, any ideas why it is almost impossible for me to get smash factor over 1.4 on the FS Golf app? With E6 range, I can get 1.47 to 1.49.
That's a good question. I mean, I haven't seen that. I'm not sure if that's a systematic thing that's happening or if it's something in your setup or a setting, you know, range ball setting versus standard ball setting. Give our support team a call if you continue to see that, and then they can investigate that a little further. I haven't seen it, but again, it doesn't mean that it's not something that's systematic. So I would say reach out to the support team, and they can take a deeper dive into that.
Okay, Matthew, I see your comment there in the comment section. I'm trying to find your question in the actual question section, but let's see. So I'm curious about hitting sessions with multiple ball models for dialing in my parameters.
With multiple? So using different golf balls?
For example, I want to test out Pro V1 versus Pro V1X with a driver and a 7-iron.
Oh, okay. That's pretty, the easiest way to do that is go into your clubs, go click on the club, and then say add a new club. And for example, let's say I'm going to test it with a 7-iron. I would just add 7-iron, and then the name of it, I would put 7-iron TaylorMade, 7-iron Titleist, 7-iron Bridgestone, and then you just hit in those clubs. And that's how you would be able to do the different, you know, change it up. Because on the standard ball setting, there isn't really a way to add a ball. Can you click on standard ball? Yeah, actually, you can add a new ball right there. So you could really do it either way. You could do it through the ball, or you could do it through the club type. Just don't, if you're going to add a new ball, make sure it's a standard ball and not a range ball, because it will do a compensation. So that's the way to do it. Do it through the ball, or do it through the club. Next question.
Okay, next question is, will there be an update for FS Skills app on iOS? It's not using the whole screen of the iPhone.
Okay, so using an iPhone. The phones can be, the scaling can be different depending on the models, because there's different sizes. If you can maybe just send us what your phone model is, you know, iPhone 11 Pro or Max, whatever the case may be. It should auto scale, but there is different sizing, so that's possibly why you could be seeing that. Do we want to maybe go over to skills and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions, so we're trying to cover as many as we can. So in skills, your settings or how you set up the unit should be exactly the same. The look and feel of the settings is different in the applications, but the basics as far as sensor to tee surface height, your modes, you have your short indoor, your indoor, and your outdoor, those will remain the same. And once you're set up, you have your different options on the left-hand side of the screen. So for example, you have your FlightScope combines, which are already predetermined combines that we've created. You have your quick plays, and I think in there you can select between pro, novice, professional. You have your build a custom game, one of my personal favorites, just because you can hone in to the specific areas that you want to work on. So for example, let's say you go into the FlightScope combine and you do the tour combine. I think that combine is like over 25 targets. It's going to take you like an hour. You're going to be tired after it. You're going to hit every shot from I think 20 yards up to 250 yards, and then you're going to get an assessment at the end. So what you can do is once you have that assessment, you can say, okay, you look at your bar graphs and you say, maybe I'm struggling with my mid-irons. I want to work on my mid-iron. So then you can go to build a custom game and build a practice session specifically on mid-irons. So you can, 150 to 180, whatever the case may be, and then you can just, do your skills assessments through that. You have your playbook, which is where all your actual skills or combines that you build will be in. You have your player list, and then you have the option to resume a game. So let's just build a custom game. Before we do that, let's just go into settings, make sure we're good to go. So that's one thing also, is to make sure when you're switching between applications, just do a quick check on the settings, because what could happen is, for example, you might have been on the range using the skills app and you had it in an outdoor mode, and then you come indoors and you want to use it, but you forgot to change it from outdoor to indoor, and that can cause some issues. So just make sure you go through your settings before you get into your session, just to eliminate any issues. So we're indoor, sensitivity is 96 inches, and we're good to go. There is an option, one more thing on device settings. There is an option for voice assist, and you can select what parameter you want the device to speak. So for example, if you want to hear your carry distance or the points, whatever the case may be, you can click on voice assisted select the parameters, and then select the data parameter that you want vocalized. All right, we'll go to, let's just say webinar. Let's name the challenge webinar. And we'll do one target. So there's 4 target types that you can select. You can select a circular, you can select a radial, you can select a fairway grid carry, and a fairway grid total. We'll just do a circular target, which is obviously to indicate a green. Our distance, will make it 160 yards. You have the option of laterally offsetting the target. So, and that's based on the target line of the unit. So for example, if I want to offset the target, maybe 5 yards or whatever, 10 yards to the left of the target line, and I have to hit a draw in there or a cut, you can do that. So the offsetting targets is so that you can work shape shots. The diameter, you can change the diameter of the target as well. Each circle, so the black circle is 5 points, and then 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, and you can change the diameters of each of those targets, and then the amount of shots per target. Let's just change it down to 3 shots. And I'll play this little skills challenge, and I'll show you what happens at the end. So you go ahead and hit start. Now you have the option of saving it for later. You can publish the challenge, and by publishing the challenge, what it does is it makes it public, and it goes to myflightscope.com. So anyone in the world can actually download that challenge from myflightscope.com into their device, and they can play that against you, and it'll have an active leaderboard. And then you can go to play now. You can have up to 4 players play in a game. You select US sales. And then off you go. So I'll hit a few shots, 160. Let's see what. Oh boy. That's a little Yankee Doodle. So it was 160 on the dot, but I yanked it. So I got 0 points. On the bottom right of the screen, you're going to see where it says your target score. So you can have up to 5 points, and then what you received on that shot, and then you get a carry to target and a final to target, just basically meaning where the ball landed relative to the center of the target. This target's 133 feet wide. I should not miss this. There we go. That's probably 3 points. 2. Yeah, 2.
So when we end it,
And then last but not least, a little chunky in the center. So now that I've finished my skills challenge, you can go to finish. And this is the bar graph I was talking about. So what we've done is we've put everything in yardage bands. So the yardage band of 150 to 175. I'm at a 70-some% average distance to target compared to the PGA Tour. If I click on that yardage band, it's going to give me target distance, and then the two important parameters is you get the PGA Tour mean distance, which is 27 feet 8 inches from at that yardage band, and then my mean distance, which was 38.11. I've got some work to do. But as you can see, if your yardage band is either yellow or red, then you know that that's an area you need to work on, and then you can create a custom challenge to work on that specific yardage band. Any questions, skills? Or any other questions that we might have?
Yeah, I think we can wrap up here shortly. There's a few more questions, and just so everyone knows, if your answer or your questions did not get answered for during the webinar, or if you submitted them beforehand, we're going to send emails and try to answer as many as we can. I do see this question coming up a lot, so maybe we can answer this now. But can FlightScope please provide data statistics we can use to get average carry distance yardage based on swing speed, ball speed, angle of attack, and equipment lofts?
Yeah, we have that. We have a reference chart for that.
Okay, so yeah,
we can share that with the group.
Yeah, so if anyone would like that information, please just send us an email at sales@flightscopemevo.com, and we can get that info to you.
Now, as a matter of fact, I believe that our chart will do it based on speeds per handicap. So, for example, like a 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, just some averages of what your typical handicaps do in those handicap bands. So yeah, we can definitely share that with you guys. Okay. So, thank you very much for joining us. Again, we'll have another one of these in the coming weeks. We try to do them at least once a month. We do have a lot of new users and customers that are using it, so we want to make sure we inform them, and we want to make sure we inform our already customers of any new updates or any things that we might be working on. If you have any questions, concerns, whatever the case may be, just feel free to reach out to us. And as always, we're willing and able to answer any questions you might have. And we're just happy that you guys are part of the FlightScope family and you're enjoying the products. So thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.